Alrighty, we're diving right into our undrafted free agent class. This is the Raider Dave mock draft, a league where we get graded in. This goes on our resume. These players are on my permanent resume, man, for the future to come, man. So we get 15 undrafted signings here in this class. So we get 8 players in the draft and 15 here. That's 24 total. And just a heads up, in the 4th round, the Raiders, they get DeCam Richardson, cornerback out of Mississippi State, 4.3 40 speed, a little shy on the tackling, but hey, Antonio Pierce and coaching staff, they can work on that. You know, most likely the guy's going to be a willing tackler. They probably already had that conversation with him, and they'll just motivate him and work on that. Those are fundamentals you can work on in practice. So let's get into our first player. We're going to talk about 5 players here out of these 15. We're going to first set it off with Jackson Sermon, the linebacker from California. He's been rising boards the last month or so. His dad coaches. His dad was a coach at Cal, actually, and his dad actually played 6 seasons for the Tennessee Titans. But he's an intriguing prospect to a certain degree because a lot of fans for Cal, they like this guy. He's emerged in the last month, like I had mentioned earlier. He had 62 tackles over his final 7 games. He had a big game against Oregon and UCLA where he had 14 tackles against Oregon, 12 tackles against UCLA. He's intercepted some passes, returned a fumble, 51 yards for a touchdown versus Washington State. He had 2.5 sacks in that game. So he's had a couple big games where he's caught some eyes out there. But overall, it's the effort and the instincts that really come together when teams are looking at a player. And he's a good athlete and a good guy to have in the locker room. So we'll see if this guy gets a chance today, man, if he gets drafted. So moving on to our next player, we're going to get into my favorite player. That's Dajon Edwards, man, the running back from Georgia. This dude, 24 total touchdowns at Georgia. He started out, 2020 as a reserve. Of course, Zamir White, he was heavy-duty back then. And in 2021, he was in special teams, so a lot of special teams play. This dude's put in a lot of work at Georgia. He's loved by his teammates at Georgia. And last year was a big year for him, I felt. He had 165 carries, 880 rushing yards, but 13 touchdowns, and that's averaging 5.3 yards per carry. So in 12 games, he started 10 of the 12 games last year. He did catch the ball in the backfield, very effective, and like I said, this dude does a good job as far as finding the end zone. And he could be, maybe he's not your full-time back, but this is definitely a good complementary back to Zamir White and fills a need with the Raiders losing Josh Jacobs. So give me your thoughts on Dajon Edwards, running back out of Georgia. We're adding another Georgia running back here in the undrafted free agency round. And then jumping down here, we're going to get into a quarterback here, an intriguing quarterback, and that's Carter Bradley, quarterback from South Alabama. Doesn't have the crazy arm strength. He definitely is a pure pocket passer because if you watch him roll out and try to throw a pass, it's a little weird looking. It doesn't come out right. His feet are all over the place, and it's just not a good position for him. But when he's in the pocket, he's good at avoiding sacks. He's good at looking off the coverage. He's good at going through his progressions. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but he's very accurate. So once he goes through his progressions, he almost like he knows if the play is going to be there, if the receiver's going to be open, if it's not. A lot of that has to do with his dad, man. His dad's Gus Bradley, our former defensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders a couple years back. Also former head coach of the Jaguars and former defensive coordinator of the Colts and the Chargers. But Gus Bradley, that helps him with his football IQ, man. This kid's grown up in the game. He probably understands how to read a lot of NFL defenses out there. Nothing's going to look too crazy to him, but it really comes down to just like what Aiden O'Connell's dealing with, adjusting to the speed of the game. We saw Aiden O'Connell look really good in the preseason last year, and then we saw him struggle as the season went on. But we saw Aiden O'Connell, man, he was still winning games. So that's why I kind of like Aiden O'Connell moving forward. I have not been real critical of Aiden O'Connell. I'd like to see something similar. If they got a Carter Bradley, say, late 7th round, let's say they get him in the undrafted class. Let's say they don't go with Jordan Travis or Spencer Rattler. They haven't yet in the 4th round, and we don't know if they're going to trade up. But Carter Bradley could be that guy that we see shine in the preseason. So give me your thoughts on this guy, man. And our last guy here in the undrafted free agent, I'll get his picture up here. Carson Steele, running back from UCLA. This basically was going to be a fullback. Kind of like, I don't think the Raiders are going to go for him anymore. They got Brock Bowers tight end out of Georgia. You know, they're going to use him in so many different ways. But I was looking at the Raiders possibly adding a fullback here, potential fullback. So we'll see where Carson Steele lands. You know, there are some teams interested in him. And let me just pull up some of his stats here real quick. What really stood out to me, man, this dude had an impressive 1,500-yard, 14-touchdown season in 2022. That was when he played for Ball State. Then he transferred to UCLA, where he had 840 yards, 5.1 yards per attempt, and 6 touchdowns. So the guy's productive. The guy can catch passes. He also caught 69 targets during his 3-year playing career. So 20 of those came with UCLA last year on 4 touchdowns as well. So he was averaging 8.4 yards per catch. So not too bad there. But we'll see how teams value these guys. And the last one I want to talk about, I'll just kind of speak on him real quick, and that is Noah Tumblin, the cornerback from San Diego State. I'm out here in Southern California, so I caught a little bit of these games. Watch this dude. He was always intriguing to me. He's not, like, NFL scouts don't seem too high on him, but I'm curious. I'm just curious where he falls. I'm actually stoked that I got him in the undrafted round. I guess, you know, other players or other guys, competitors in the league were not high on this dude, but I was lucky to get him. And the Raiders do get a cornerback today, so I'm pretty stoked about that they filled the need there. But anyway, give me your thoughts on these players. Another one here that was fun to draft was Jose Pisano, the kicker from UNLV, fan favorite out there in Las Vegas. So like I said, you always want to get a kicker or a punter in these drafts. It helps with points, and part of the strategy is winning too. You know what I mean? Finding players that fit the team, and then finding players of value so you can score points and win. But you know, like I said, I've been in this league. I think this is my 6th year in these guys' league, and they've accepted me pretty well because you do have to draft. You have to draft as if you're the GM of the team, and I've obviously done a pretty good job of doing that because they welcome me back every year. And the chat boards were going off last night with the Tyron Hopper pick, man. So, and last year we had a big one. Last year was our big one, dude. Sam Laporta. Nobody was talking about Sam Laporta last year. Everybody was talking about Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid had a good season, but Sam Laporta was the well-rounded tight end that was electric last year and pretty much unstoppable. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy this stuff, and I'll be back hopefully dropping more videos. There's a lot of football content out there for everybody to watch, so we do our best over here, man, to hang and maintain, you know what I'm saying? So I'm Raider Dave, this GrimeCast Media. If you haven't yet, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. I'm out. Peace.